Hello, my name is Juliana, and today we're going to be making a naked layer cake. This is a gorgeous cake. It's a vanilla cake with a buttercream frosting. We're gonna put flowers on top. It's totally amazing. Let's get started. The first step in this cake is to make the actual cake batter. We're going to start by taking a cup of milk that I've let get to room temperature, put it in a bowl, and to that, I'm going to whisk half a cup of sour cream. Just gonna whisk this together and then set it aside. We'll need it later. Great. Next up in the cake batter is to sift all the dry ingredients together. You can definitely use cake flour. It has less protein than normal flour, and so it'll make a lighter, airier cake. But when you're making a layered cake like we are, we wanna make sure it's sturdy enough to hold up. So here we're gonna do half cake flour and half regular flour. We're gonna sift it all together. And then I'm just gonna put our baking powder and our salt and just sift this together. Look how pretty it is. Oh my gosh. Making a cake is a very beautiful experience. Like, not only do you end up with something beautiful, it's beautiful along the way. It's like the journey, not the destination, you know? Okay, you're like, just shut up and make a cake. Great, I'm gonna set this aside. We're gonna need this soon. Next up on this cake adventure, we are going to cream our butter. Here I have room temperature butter. It's super important when you're making a cake that everything is the same temperature. So the milk, the eggs, and the butter should all be the same temperature so it can all mix together nicely and incorporate well. So here we have 2 sticks of very soft butter. So get those in there, plop it in. So let's beat this butter on a low, medium speed until it gets nice and shiny. You'll see how when it happens. But this is a super important part of making a good cake. You have to get air, whip air into the butter so that the cake will be nice and light. So once your butter is nice and whipped together, now it's time to add the sugar. So we're gonna add granulated sugar as well as a little bit of vanilla extract. And this is the part you have to be really patient at. We're gonna whip this together until it's nice and light and fluffy. You're gonna see when it makes a change. That takes about 3 minutes or so on a medium-high speed. Dear KitchenAid, please send me a new mixer. So as you can see, it is lightened up. It's become nice and fluffy and light in color. I'm gonna wipe down the sides a little bit so we can incorporate this more. Then we can start adding our eggs. All right, we're gonna add the eggs one at a time to make sure they each get incorporated fully. So we got 1, lock it up. Ooh, they're nice, pretty yellow yolks. Okay, last one. Cuatro. Okay, now that our batter is complete, I have buttered and floured 3 8-inch cake pans, put a little parchment in the bottom, and it is time to fill the cake pans with the batter. So just spoon 1/3 of it in like this. And it's a little bit of a thicker batter, so you will have to use a spatula and just flatten it out. I'm gonna fill all 3 of these evenly with batter, then I'm going to put them in a 350-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. I kind of cheated a little bit, and I made these cakes yesterday, and that way they could have plenty of time in the fridge to get nice and firm. And you can see I double wrapped them here in plastic wrap and in Ziplocs, so they had no air get into them. Ooh, they're nice and moist. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a cake leveler, and I'm just gonna trim off this top little layer here to make it nice and flat so they'll stack more nicely. So there's 1. If you wanna get real fancy, you can cut each of these layers in half. That way you have more buttercream and more cake in every bite, but I'm not real fancy. I'm only just like a little fancy, so we're just gonna cut the tops off. You can also use a serrated knife if you don't have a cake leveler, but this is so super easy, and I'm into easy, so. Great, next step on this adventure is buttercream. I made this earlier, recipe is below. It's a super simple, straightforward buttercream, butter, powdered sugar, vanilla, salt, whip it together. Done. So we're gonna start building the cake. We're gonna use a cake stand. You can also use a cake spinner if you want, but I don't like transporting a cake from a spinner to a stand, so we're just gonna make it on the stand. Now I'm gonna grab my tip and my piping bag. I'm gonna cut about 3/4 inch off the tip. Let's see, that's right. That is perfecto. It's a pretty big cupcake icing tip, but that will be nice to make the circumference of this. Okay, so I'm gonna spoon some icing into my bag. I love this cake because I have seen these all over Pinterest and all over Instagram at weddings, at birthdays, at anniversaries, engagement parties. It's super versatile for any celebration. It's great for holiday parties. You honestly can just ice it the exact same and then change up the decoration based on what your celebration is. Okay, let's taste it. Really good. I'm gonna do an even circle around the edge here. Oh, it's looking so pretty. So I'm gonna do sort of like a very rough frost. You can clean up your cake stand later. You will get icing on it. It's not a big deal. No one has to know. I'm scraping here to kind of make it look a little bit more even. I like how you can see like some of the cake in there. I'm gonna clean up the bottom of this and then we're gonna work on the top. If you really want to make the top look smooth, you can run this under hot water and use it to melt the icing a little bit and smooth it. But I actually really like how it looks a little bit rustic. You can see the movements and the swirls that I've put in there. So we're gonna keep it and we're gonna go on to the last phase of this, which is decoration. I have these flowers that I got at the farmer's market, and actually these dahlias, which are stunning and usually really expensive, he gave them to me basically for free because they were broken, and I was like, perfect, that's all you want for a cake. Make sure that they are dry and they're clean before you put them on top of your cake. And then I have some marigolds here. I think that the orange and the maroon look really nice together as like a fall sort of color scheme. Marigolds smell insanely good, so that's a plus on your cake. I also got some of these sort of pale pink roses. There's really no wrong way to do this. Kind of tuck them in. So now I'm just styling it, seeing if I like how it looks. Obviously these flowers are not edible, but look how beautiful it looks. It's easy to take them off before you eat the cake. Also, if you wanted to put fruit or something edible on top, that would also be beautiful and delicious. And as you can see, this is called a naked cake because you can actually see what's inside the cake. It's not clothed by any extra frosting on the outside. You can see the innards. It's beautiful, it's rustic, and it's a perfect naked cake. So if you make one of your own, post below in the comments. I'd love to see everything on social media. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.